The tube strikes, they're into their third day now. The action is over the issue of ticket office closures. London Underground are running a reduced service today, but there's no doubt going to be a load of chaos for commuters on their way into work. So Dan Freedman is at Victoria for us today. Dan, how's it looking where you are?
Well, it's just starting to get busy at the moment, Gavin. It's not quite a hive of activity just yet, but you can see people heading in and out, and clearly a lot of people will be coming here because there are some services running from here. The District line and the Victoria line are running some service. The Circle line, however, not running at all. And of course, Victoria is just this massive hub for London. You've got 77 odd million passenger journeys from here every year. You've got national rail services, you've got the Gatwick Express, about 20 different bus routes, and also a huge taxi rank, and it's very well positioned in the heart of London. So a lot of people will be coming here as part of their journey, an intersection or a gateway to the rest of London. One thing I've noticed on my travels on the tube yesterday, not at peak time I might add, because I think it would have been a bit tricky to do it at peak time, is that Transport for London are really getting people onto the forecourts, volunteers wearing pink tabards, and they're giving out advice to people looking to travel on the tube despite the tube strike. They're at the departure boards, they're at the service update boards, and they're spelling out exactly how to do their journey. The reason this is interesting is because this, in a sense, is TfL's blueprint for the future. They want people out from behind the ticket office desks, they want them out into the forecourts, and I think this tube strike is a way of trying to start convincing the public at a time when this issue is at its most has its most impact, that this is the way forward, this is a good idea, and actually volunteers in forecourts, or people in forecourts as TfL staff will be, is a good idea, and trying to get the public sold on it. And at the moment I think they're doing a good job because the volunteers are really helpful, they know what they're saying and they know the routes, and they're very good at getting people on their way quickly.
So, Dan, it's very much a case, as you're describing there, of reputation management then in this situation, isn't it? So do you think that commuters will buy into that?
Well, certainly I was really impressed by the experience I had yesterday, as I say, trying to navigate my way. A lot of closures. You have to have a really in-depth knowledge of exactly which lines are open and closed and which parts of which lines are open and closed and where all the interchanges are. And certainly these volunteers, I think they were volunteers, some of them were only 18, 19, and reminded me a bit actually of the games makers during the Olympics. Really helpful volunteers recruited and really on message and on board with what TfL were trying to do. Now, I don't want to give our tube staff a bad name, but we all know when we go into tube stations, that's not always the experience you get when you're speaking to tube staff and asking for information. So it did seem that these were not paid employees, these were volunteers there to help out. And yeah, I think it definitely helps to push this message that TfL are trying to get across at such a crucial time when they're trying to sell this message about the impact of ticket office closures and job cuts, opposed of course heavily by the RMT. That's why we're on strike, but certainly a good way of trying to get the travelling public sold on this idea.